Mike Jaffe is a September 11th survivor who has transformed his life, and he hopes to do the same for you. In his book, Wake Up, Your Life is Calling, Why Settle for Fine When So Much More is Possible, Mike helps his readers think bigger, play bigger, and live bigger, and he's here today to talk about the book and how it can inspire you. Mike, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Teresa.
Right off the bat, tell us why you decided to write this book.
I've met so many people that have big intentions for their lives. They want to make changes, they want to do something to play bigger, but they don't do anything about it. They're waiting for this mystical someday to come when life is a little easier, when the kids grow up, once things change. And the problem is there's no such thing as that someday, and I was that guy. I was stuck. I didn't know what direction to head in, so I really just floated down the river. And I wanted to create a tool for people that would give them a roadmap to start to design and live a life that they want to live into instead of waiting for someday so they don't lose another precious day.
Got it. Now, what's interesting is that you worked at the top of the World Trade Center, but the day before you made a decision that really changed your whole life.
Exactly. So I was at a crossroads. Again, things were fine, but they really weren't what I was hoping for. I just didn't know what I wanted, and my commute was 4 hours each day, 2 hours each way.
Oh, wow.
And my daughter was one, and I'd leave in the morning, she'd be sleeping, and I'd get home at night, and she'd be sleeping. And days became weeks, became months, and it just wasn't the life I wanted, but I didn't know what to do about it. So after going outside on September 10th, I was just reflecting on this, thinking, where can I start? Where do I have control? And I decided, you know, what if I start small? What if I think small? Because when we think big, our lives are so full.
Sometimes it's overwhelming, right?
It's overwhelming, and where are we going to find it? How are we going to create time to do that? So one of the guides, one of the lessons is start small, think small. And I said, you know, what if we just have breakfast tomorrow morning? Let's just go in a little bit late, and I'll have breakfast. I'll see my daughter, I'll see my wife, and it won't be a life-changing decision.
But it's a start.
But it's a great start.
And it really was a life-changing decision.
Unbeknownst to me, I was really standing at that crossroads, and even the next morning when I got up, I was all ready to go, and my wife said, oh, I thought we were going to have breakfast, but you can still make your train. And that's when the little voices, you know, make your train, go,
Right.
don't be late, don't get in
gosh.
trouble. But then my other voice said, no, the whole point was to have breakfast, and if you don't do that, when are you going to do that? When are you going to start? And after wrestling with this, I realized, you know what, let's have that breakfast. And because I had that breakfast, I was still in the subway when the first plane actually slammed into my floor and hit my desk, because that happened to be 9/11.
Oh my gosh, I just got goosebumps. That's
Yeah, it's
terrible.
hard to, it's still hard to believe.
You call that your human wake-up call.
Yeah, so coming out of that, I still didn't know what I wanted to do at the time, but I knew that I needed to own it. I had a whole new intention, my perspective had shifted, and now it was up to me to figure out what the path was instead of just floating down the river.
Got it. All right, Mike, in the book you have some tips for people,
Yes.
how we could get going and start. And right off the bat you say that they're the 5 guiding principles for rewriting your tomorrow. The first one is perspective.
It all starts with a shift in perspective, and that perspective starts with understanding that today is your wake-up call, that a day that looks like any other day is the someday that you've been waiting for. You cannot afford to lose another precious day. Today is that day. And the second part is that you already have what you need to get started. You have so much power. We all do. We just need to tap into it and not wait, not be a victim, not blame other things for our particular circumstances. We need to take ownership and accountability of it.
Okay. Next you mentioned is purpose.
Yeah, so if you don't know what it means, if you don't have a direction, if you don't have a vision for your life, well, then you don't really know what life you want to live into. And change is hard.
Sure.
All change is hard.
It's no one likes it.
uncomfortable. There's loss involved. Even good change, there's loss involved. And without that pull, without that compelling pull, that meaning, it's very hard to follow through on the change because all you want to do is run back to where it's comfortable.
That's true. Play. We're allowed to play a little in this?
We need to play, not we're allowed. We have to be an adventure in our lives because when you first get started, you're not going to know how to get there, and we get stuck by that. So rather than knowing how, we need to start taking small bites and experimenting and trying things, because to know without doing is not to know. So we need to experience things, and that will reveal the path along the way.
All right, and you say plan. Does this actually mean write it down and make a map for yourself?
Absolutely. So we need a roadmap, but we want to play first because sometimes we think we know. Yeah, we think we know what we want, but until we experience something, we don't really understand, and we explore and discover new worlds while we're playing. But once you discover that, now it's time to say, all right, here's where I am. Let me break it down into manageable chunks so I don't get overwhelmed, so I don't get stuck, so I don't just run back to what my life looks like. And I start taking those small steps that add up to big change over time.
All right, and lastly, you say persist.
Courage, commitment, patience, support. We need so many things that help us just stay on that bridge of change, but it's up to us to own that. So we need to create the right environment so that we do have the courage and the strength to keep going, even when our life shows up, even when things get a little more challenging.
Sure. All right, very inspirational stuff. Good advice. Where can we find your book?
My book is available at all the major online retailers, but also on my website at humanwakeupcall.com.
All right. Mike Jaffe, thanks so much for coming and sharing all the information with us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right.